So contracts are good, but they are good to the extent that you can actually enforce them. Okay, my name is Anthony Okoye. I'm also called Ant. I'm the founder and CEO of Insecta Studios Limited. Yeah. Okay, so Ant started creating art right from the time I knew how to hold a pen, because I've always drawn. And I've always done it so well that I really don't, it doesn't take me so much to get into my zone and actually draw. It's just a means of expression for me, just like speaking. So yeah. Okay, Insecta Studios is a visual creative agency that is based in, of course, Lagos, Nigeria, and we're specialized in wall art, branding, photography, and digital creative consultancy, visual creative consultancy. Our clients are pretty much local and international. So Insecta Studios we've serviced a number of brands, and most recently we actually we sponsored an international event. It's actually the Solar Decathlon, first of its kind in Africa, and it hosted about 18 schools. The Decathlon is a competition that actually brings together schools from all around the world to design the next generation type of building. From being that I have a background in architecture, and quite a number of my colleagues at Insecta also have a core background in architecture. So we engage in initiatives that promote not just creativity, but the future of art, and also the future of science as well, and tech. Okay, so Insecta Studios, being a creative company, there are common challenges that creatives face in this part of the world. Like, I mean, of course, Lagos, Nigeria might be unique for any other parts, but one of the major things we face is the issue of copyright, and then usage of your creative works. So both by the clients and then by other creatives, and then just when you deliver services, you think about the protection of the work, you think about the distribution of the work, you think about how it impacts on the people that you actually created it for. So yeah, one of the major things that we deal with on a daily basis is actually how to protect the work, like the copyright of the work. We have situations whereby the question comes up, because typically in our line of work, so most of our services, we actually get some payments before we actually engage. We get at least 70%, because it's quite a lot to do without any kind of commitment. And the reason why we do this is, as a lot of people know in this our creative industry, like before you start any kind of work, people say, oh, they want to see samples, they want to see this. And as a creator, it's I think the responsibility lies on you to also find a way to protect your creation. Also, even though the responsibility also lies on the consumer, the person asking for the artwork, to protect the artwork as well, but it's still every party needs to like protect this work. And so one of the major things that we struggle with as a company is with protecting the integrity of the work, the copyright of the work,
from being recreated by the artists or by the clients and by other creative agencies.
Yeah, so from being used beyond, or from being used out of the agreement of the contract. Yeah, most of the works we do are major league contracts. Yeah, so we always create, in our contracts, we always have clauses that protect the works that we put out, that we give to clients. So and we expect that they on their own part too pretty much return the favor as well. Yes, so I've had a series of them, and
like how many?
A couple. I can recount a few, and I'm talking copyright infringement from people that we expect to actually be socially responsible in terms of having a corporate culture and all that, especially with dealing with creators. 2016, Insecta Studios had just started as a company, and of course, as a tooting brand, as a starting brand company, we had our office at Bishop Oluwole in VI, and there was a lot of costs that we were trying to manage. There was staff payment and all that. We started in June, and then Burna Boy reached out to us through Prodigy, Aristocrats, the Aristocrats group. They reached out to us on the 31st of October. This was precisely on my birthday. It was in the night, and they were asking, also Burna Boy wants to do this, he needs an artwork. Of course, it was an interesting conversation. I was like, okay, so what do you want? After they described what they wanted, we sent them and they needed something really, really quickly. So we put together something and sent them a sketch, because what they wanted was like the Burna Boy head in 3D, which the Burna Boy pretty much his brand is around mystery and a lot of cool stuff, and he wanted like a Burna Boy head with like zombie effects, smoke and everything. Most of those details are on the internet, like details of the case and everything. Now, long and short of it was, he actually requested for this artwork. We sent a proposal in the typical Insecta way. Insecta Studios sent a proposal. We sent an invoice, to which they said they couldn't afford at the time, and they made offers that were not very, very pleasant to us. They were like, okay, Burna Boy could perform at a private event or something. And the truth is, as a company that just started about 4 months ago, we had a lot of overheads to take care of. And apart from that, we were trying to work in the tooting phase. We explained this to them that, okay, we needed to, like, before we start doing favors, we have salaries to pay. We needed to like get some grounds that eventually, when we have a very good relationship, we'll get to that point. But for now, they had to pay for the service. For them, they had to pay for the service, and they stopped responding to mails and messages. So now the thing is, this happens, and eventually we actually saw that they used the artwork in South Africa, the sketch of the artwork, not even the 3D. Down along the line, when we sued and all that, that was when other artists, other creatives, illustrators as well, 2 other illustrators came out and said, oh, for this same work, Burna Boy's crew actually reached out to them as well, and they sent sketches that they didn't even know that it was going to. And then the funniest part was, it was our proposal, what we created, what Insecta Studios created as a proposal, sent to them, that they used to send to other creatives to create what we had proposed. So it's ridiculous. And sometimes when you think about this, it's a very small community, and people know people, and then people ask questions like, oh, if Ant is not doing this, if Insecta Studios is not actually doing this, why? What happened? Like, what happened? And conversations go around. Eventually it came back to me, and they were like, okay, they didn't do the work, they didn't take it and all that. But at the end of the day, was the sketch that we did, that they used in Durban, South Africa at the Essence Festival. So it was, and that was when we decided to take it up and then sue Burna Boy to court. Okay, so the matter started since 2016 when we sued Burna Boy to court. I think it's PD Picasso, the aristocrat, the founder of Aristocrats, or the owner, something. There was a time when I got a call from him, and then he mentioned that they were going to make the case drag. So till now, the matter hasn't necessarily been settled, But I would say it's not. It's the truth is there's a huge lapse in the legal system. As a matter of fact, the case has been in court since 2017, and we sued for damages of about 20 million in naira. Now, what we actually hoped to, what we actually did was, the creative industry doesn't necessarily have a voice that that stands against things like this, and then the legal system have structures in place that pretty much address cases like this. Just like any other, should I say, well-meaning person, we decided to take it up, because for the most part, if the way it is going, so far so good. Nobody from Aristocrat, nobody, Burna Boy himself, Prodigy Z, and all that, they haven't even reported to court, and the service have been going on and on and on. And interestingly, it's actually it's not such a big deal, because at the end of the day, the case is going to be ruled in our favor, and then it's going to be a huge blow on them, because it will be negligence on their own part, and that's why we're not really bothered. Day in, day out, we still do projects, we still work with our clients, and we still deliver quality service. Okay, so to create something like like a community where creatives can actually stand for the right of creatives, especially visual creatives, because as it is right now, excuse me, there's a lot of conversation going on in the music industry, and I think they're moving it to the next level. There are people pioneering conversations in the visual creative industry around how we can actually get a more united front and then stand together in cases like this, because it's an ongoing thing, it's a continuous thing. Yes, it's a systemic issue, and it's a matter of people understanding that because of the lapse in the system, people feel like they can get away with things. They can just do things and get away with them. But it's unfortunate that in this case, in our own case, Burna Boy is the, should I say, scapegoat, because he has a brand to protect, and he should actually be some sort of an example, because if he is able to do things like this to the visual creative industry and get away with it, then you might as well expect that other up-and-coming artists and other people, other brands will do the same thing, will follow in his footsteps, and nothing will get done about it. So it's in that regard that we are actually like taking the steps that we are taking, and we're not being aggressive about it. It's just a simple, this has happened and then this is what should be done, and yeah. I believe it's going to go a long way to impact on the way that creatives see themselves and the value they bring to the industry at large. Now, I'm saying this primarily because when you look at it in the broad spectrum, thinking of it from things as simple as weddings, where the photographers cover, down to things as big as brand representations of being a brand ambassador to a certain brand. There are in-betweens of all of this, and everybody needs to be protected. I believe if this is well, I believe this conversation is actually going to go beyond just the four walls of this space, and to the people that actually matter, to the people that understand that these are issues that border on the development and growth of Nigeria as a country at large. Because taking out the creatives from everything that happened in Nigeria, you won't have any media to start with. You won't even have any good presentations. There's nothing to sell. Nobody will attend a wedding that is not looking really good. Especially when the pre-wedding pictures come out, you like what you're seeing, and then you want to attend the wedding. So now conversations like this is what is going to like make the people creating this content, pretty much the content creators, outside of, beyond just the visual creatives, people that create art, animations, illustrations, and whatnot. This conversation is going to go a long way to actually help people understand that whatever work they've created, first and foremost, they own the copyright to these works until they decide to give it out to whomever is maybe the secondary owner, maybe the client.
And they must sign contracts to this effect.
Yes, and even if they don't sign contracts, it goes without saying that they are the owners of the work. Because for the most part, when you see a lot of things on social media, if something has been put in a public domain, for instance, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone else can take it and then use it to monetize it. If you find something in the public domain and you want to use it for something else that is public, maybe that's fine. But when you choose to now monetize it, then you have to actually look for the creator of that work and pay for it. So in cases where we have people, where we have, for instance, when you're listening to the radio and you hear a certain song playing, the first reaction you have is, oh, who is the artist? Right? Now, this kind of reaction should be what you see when you see a beautiful piece of art. You should ask the question, who is the artist? My background in architecture makes me understand that when you see a beautiful piece of architecture, a building that is extraordinary, maybe in the foreign scene or somewhere, and it looks a certain way, it could be maybe designed by Zaha Hadid, or late Zaha Hadid, or designed by Daniel Libeskind, or maybe Frank Gehry, or the likes of them. And this is what signature style actually means. When you hear a music by, say, a Wizkid or somebody, you already know that, oh, this is Wizkid. Even without any contract, without any signing, without any, you know the person's signature style, and you know if you are to use that artwork, you need to get appropriate permission. Okay, I believe contracts are very important when it comes to doing business. But more importantly, I believe social responsibility is
on the part of the client.
From the part of the user of the creative work is even more important. So contracts are good, but they are good to the extent that you can actually enforce them. But when you are responsible enough to know that, okay, this was actually created with by someone who has put in years of experience, or maybe some kind of diligence or some sweat into creating it, that alone in itself should be respected, and the person should be called to have a conversation if the artwork is to be used for anything beyond what the person has intended it for.